I'm going to get into it right now with Deathblow #1. Who remembers this one? Huh? Jim Lee, Brandon Choi made this totally awesome comic book. I first covered this in a previous video. If you go back and you watch the Darker Image #1 review, Deathblow is one of the 3 new characters introduced in that really hot Image comic. I mean, you want to talk about a comic book that moved the needle. It was Darker Image. When I was a kid, every boy in my school wanted a copy of that Darker Image. And another comic book that came polybagged. We just talked about Solitaire in the last video I made, and how that came polybagged with a card in it. So did Darker Image #1, and it also introduced this great character, Deathblow. And I didn't like Deathblow when I was a kid. Out of all 3 of the characters in Darker Image #1, I was mostly interested in Bloodwolf by Rob Liefeld, because that's my boy. And then I was interested in the Max because Sam Keith's art is so unique. Deathblow didn't do much for me as a kid, but as an adult, going back and doing the review on Darker Image #1, Deathblow got me. Man, that was an interesting story. And so I said, well, let me go pick this bad boy up. And sure enough, 50 cents at your local comic book shop gets you the awesome Deathblow comic book. And there's actually an alternate version that does not have like the red foil vibe to it. I don't know if it was because it was just a misprint or what happened there, but it's literally just the black velvet vibe to it. So you open it up and instantly you notice how different this comic book is compared to everything else Jim Lee has ever done. Vastly different. And look at those inks. This is a guy who is now painting on black. I believe I've talked about this in a previous video, and I'm from the film industry, and a cinematographer in the film industry starts with a completely black set, and you add one light, and then you add another light, and then you add another light. And in comics, quite often it's different. You're starting with the white page, so you're adding colors, different colors. Whereas in this, yes, he starts with a white page, but it's all about making things pop out of the black, similar to Sin City, I would say, by Frank Miller. And clearly, whoa, holy cannoli. That is art. That is violent art, and I really like it. Again, you know, this goes back to my theory that Image Comics is sort of like the Quentin Tarantino of the comic industry. At least they were in the 1990s. They were not afraid to give young men what young men want, which is awesome comic books like this that have violence. You know, boys think blood is cool and all that. And that's what you know we're all about, is giving boys what they want here on Testosterone Overload. That's what the Purple Fist is about, baby. Men are kings, especially American men who don't bow down to kings. We are each our own king. Jim Lee was his own king and was able to make himself a millionaire in the comic book industry because he did not have to bow down to another king anywhere. And I could extrapolate on that a lot more. The best thing I could say is you should probably read Machiavelli's The Prince. That's a book. Check it out. It will teach you about business. So you just see this beautiful artwork. He's going to kill himself right here in the Catholic Church here in the confession booth. But, you know, he doesn't. Instead, he's walking out just as the priest is walking in. Can I help you, my son? No, I don't think he can. And then he walks out, and I actually really like this Star Inquisitor he walks on. Miracle Boy in Philadelphia brings dead friend back to life. Madonna to give birth to Elvis's love child. The new Kevorkian diet. It's a Jack Kevorkian joke. This is a joke about SJWs in the comic book industry. They are the Jack Kevorkian of comic books. SJWs are. And look at this amazing art. I assume that this was traced from a picture. If Jim Lee drew that by hand, he is a stud. So, Death Made Black. Thank God we got through that, huh? And so then, like, this really confused me because it has a similar inking style, and I thought that this was part of the Deathblow story. And I read this whole thing, and it's not good. The art is neat. But these guys, these zombie sort of cybernetic, I don't know what, cyberpunk zombies, maybe? The way they talk, they're hunting down this chick, and the way that they speak, their dialogue is so not... The way they speak does not mesh up with their look or their job. They sound like guys just like from New York hanging out, but they're not. They're like monsters from another planet, and so it's just like, why do they sound like dudes from New York? Doesn't make sense. And I was just like, I'm reading this whole thing, I'm just like, what the hell does this have to do with Deathblow? Where does Deathblow come back in here? And like, is he gonna go to another planet? And I'm just totally confused, and then I turn it over, I'm like, oh, what's this? And I turn it this way, like, oh, this is Nick Manabat's Cybernary #1. And they just printed it the wrong way. And it was supposed to be a flip book. But no, they printed it the wrong way, so I read the whole thing, just totally confused what this had to do with Deathblow. And it had nothing to do with Deathblow, and to be quite honest, I'm not interested in this, and I'm pissed that I bought this, even though it was only 50 cents. I wanted 28 pages of Deathblow. I didn't want 16 pages of Deathblow and like a dozen pages of this Cybernary thing. Whatever, I don't care about this. I care about this. And I still care about this. After reading Deathblow, it doesn't, not a damn thing happens. The guy sits in a church and talks about things that have happened and thinks about killing himself, then decides not to, and then he leaves. And that's it. That's this story. It was still written really well, though, It's just like the Darker Image #1. Or it's like it baits you in, it baits you in, it makes you want the next one, it makes you want the next one. Here's my problem. I don't give a crap about this. I don't want this. I do not want to waste my money on this. And the thing is like, I can't find Deathblow 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think they had like 22 issues maybe. You can't find them. You can only find them like at the expensive comic shop over the bridge in Portland. I can't get issues for 50 cents, and I'm not paying $3 damn for a dozen pages of Deathblow and then a dozen pages of Nick Manabat's Cybernary. No offense to Nick Manabat, it just is not interesting to me. This doesn't appeal to me. This appealed to me, and I want this when I buy a comic book. And when you go and you find a comic book and it's in, a bag, it's in a bag with a board behind it, you just assume this is what you're going to get is what's on the cover. Not, like, oh no, you're only going to get half of that, and then we're going to trick you into getting this other half. I'm not a fan of this this whole flip book thing at all. I wasn't a fan of it really with Youngblood #1, where you flip it over and it's also, there's Team Youngblood on the back. Like, yeah, whatever, man. Just give me one good story in a comic book and I'm happy, like Solitaire. And so I am on the fence about buying any more issues of Deathblow. I'm more interested in maybe finding a trade paperback that would collect only Deathblow's story in it. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below. Do you think I should go out and pick up more issues of Deathblow? Does this story pick up at any point, or is it going to continue to be a guy sitting and talking, no matter how beautiful it looks? Ultimately, is this a story worth reading? People raved about it back in the 90s. But that could have just been hype. So I want to know from you guys, even though I'm supposed to be the guide to the back issue bins, every once in a while, we will get a long time comic book fan who has actually read all of this bad boy and will be able to tell me if it's good or not, and if it's worthy of wasting my money and my time on. Is it worthy of me wasting your time on talking about more issues of this? So let me know in the comments below. Please like this video. Please do not be afraid to subscribe. It helps. Do not be afraid to hit that ding dong for notifications. And I love each and every one of you who watches this. No matter what, you are beautiful and you are talented and you are going to become a success in life if you just keep your nose to the grindstone. Think about how Jim Lee did it. He now runs DC Comics. How about that? He made himself a multi-millionaire at Image Comics, and now he runs DC Comics. You can do that. How did Jim do it? He kept his nose down. You didn't hear anything controversial from him. You didn't hear him about him taking meetings with Steven Spielberg to get movies off the ground for comic books that didn't even exist yet. He worked every day to provide good quality content. He clearly was a family man, because you're talking about a dude who took a few months off to spend time with his family after he found success, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Especially when you let the fans know, this is what I'm going to do. I'm in a position where I can do this now, and I want to spend time with my family, and I'll always respect a family man, and I hope that he'll clean up DC soon. But all of you are beautiful. All of you are great human beings, and I want you to continue to do what you can to move the needle in the comic industry if you're a young creator. If you're not a young creator and you just love comic books, do not be afraid to hashtag move the needle when you find a good comic book. We are winning the war. We are winning the war, and we are going to make comic books great again because of beautiful people like you watching totally awesome comic book reviews right here on, oh, you guys already know, Testosterone Overload, baby. That's it.